We have problems.
Okay, we have started. Welcome, everybody. A couple of introductions to make real quick. I want to welcome you to my GREL podcast. Haya's got a podcast as well, so we'll talk about that. My podcast, normally I talk about golf, real estate, and life. Everything in between. So we wanted to welcome you. We've got a few things to cover today. I've got my partners here. We've got Haya here. So Haya, please tell us about your podcast as well.
So I have started a channel and it's called Haya Housing Houston. And I'm going to be talking about the real estate industry exposed with my fellow colleagues here.
Yay.
We have Louisa.
Hi there. How are we doing?
We have Arthur.
How's it going?
And Mickey.
Hello. We're all on the same team.
Yes. So I'm going to edit these parts. But how many years collectively of real estate experience do we have here?
We'll go with the veteran first. Arthur, how many years of real estate?
15 years now.
15
years.
If
you include my 15 with your 15, because
You've been basically
in real
You've been
estate?
helping me
Yeah.
the whole
Yeah.
time, yeah.
So that's 30.
30. I'm going on 11 myself. So I started
40.
in 2013. And
So
then
we'll say 45, round it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Haya's a rookie.
So we're
right?
going to be having, yes, exactly. We're going to be having 45 years of experience of real estate here on this table. And we're going to be talking about everything that you guys may want to know or get to know about. And I can bet that you will not be getting any more candid conversations than here.
Yeah.
I can agree. And the good thing is we can talk about anything on my podcast and even on yours. And just Arthur and I, we've had endless conversations about anything and everything in between. Life,
Some very
real
weird
estate,
stuff.
everything. But that's what comes with this. And that's what the beauty of this industry is. We're learning something new every day. And we're really kind of evolving. And speaking of evolving, let's get started on your first question when you asked us before we even, went live. So
Yes.
tell us more about that question you had in mind.
So what I think that people would really want to know, and me as a newbie in real estate today, I got my license last month. I'm pretty fresh, and I'm really, really glad about joining eXp Realty. They have definitely been family since I've joined, and I get a bunch of insights as to what to do, what my next step should be. And like we all know, every new real estate agent needs people who can help them build their career by mentoring and providing great insights that you don't really get anywhere else, or by shadowing your mentors on a daily basis. My first question for you guys is, what are the most significant trends shaping the current housing market, and how do they differ from a decade ago?
Ooh,
That's a big question to start
That's a good question.
A good decade ago, yeah.
Arthur, you want to take that one first?
Sure. A decade ago, let me see, 2014.
We were past 2012.
We had just passed the craziness of 2009, 2010, all the foreclosures. There were still some foreclosures around, but not as much. I would say 2014, I picked up a lot of investor clients that were looking at getting back in the market because the market was starting to move, trend upwards at the time. It was still easy to find deals. There was still plenty of them around. I think towards the end of 14, we had a pretty crazy year, 14, if I remember correctly.
It was a busy year.
Yeah.
In residential too, not just investment commercial.
That's right.
And everyone had come out
there
of
was
that
a big
slump
big influx of people in Houston in general.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that started, it continued for a couple of years, and then it slowed down a little bit, of course, after that. But one of the main differences is obviously right now we had that big NAR lawsuit that we all know about and we've been discussing.
That came out recently.
Yeah. That's playing on a lot of people's minds, but
There's a lot of misinformation out there. A lot of misinformation. People haven't realized that. Well, certainly in Texas, anyway, that this has been the way for a long time. It's just unfortunately
we've always told clients that we we pay the buyer's broker 3% here in Texas. It's always been the way. I mean, when you write a listing agreement, for example, it's on your listing agreement.
Yep.
You and I have discussed this multiple times throughout this lawsuit.
Correct.
It's something that we always tell our clients, hey, commissions are always negotiable.
Yep.
We charge this because of this, and this is why we charge that, and this is where our money goes. And
I think
you and I have always been very transparent.
It's having a hard conversation, which I think is what scares a lot of people, is actually having those money conversations with both their buyers and their sellers, so that the buyers understand what, if you've taken the time to read through the buyer's representation with your buyer,
listing agreement.
It's all there.
Yeah, all the listing agreement.
As well as the listing agreement. It's spelled out in black and white. We've had instances where buyers have asked us to redline that particular section. Because they were like, well, we don't want to have to, if the seller doesn't want to pay, we don't want to have to come up with that money. Okay.
Yep.
So I think now it's just going to be a little bit more transparent. We're going to be having to have those difficult conversations with our clients and making them understand.
Yeah. So going back 10 years, your question about 10 years ago, when I had just started. So I was like only 1 year in.
Oh, yeah.
So I was a rookie in that aspect. But, our good buddy Jacob always, used to tell me everything's up for negotiation.
Yeah.
And in my mind, that included the 6%.
Yeah.
It was never a standard in my mind. So I've had a few clients that called me this week and said, hey, what's going on with this? I said, look, it's business as usual for me. You're aware of how I work with you. I've always given you a deal, or I've always given you a break here and there. That's been the norm for me. It hasn't changed. But a lot of the other states may not have going about the business like that. So,
But you and I had this discussion as well. Shout out to Champion School of Real Estate here. When we did our exams, we did our courses. We're told numerous times.
You're right. Never assume.
Never ever say such a thing as standard commission. There is no such thing as a standard commission.
Champions kind of put that in my mind quite a while ago.
Yeah, and it's mentioned numerous times. The Champion School of Real Estate.
Yeah.
No such thing as standard commission.
Yeah.
Everything is negotiable.
Yeah.
And that's what we've always been told, and that's the way we've always operated our business. And
that's true. I'm proud to be a Texan in that aspect because Texas is the most stringent as far as these contracts go. We were told that. I'm sure your teachers told you that at Champions and said Texas is the hardest one to pass. Texas is the one that has the most.
Compared to other states.
Yes.
I was told multiple times.
Multiple times. And it's true.
It's true.
There's a lot of people that are scared that suddenly sellers will be no longer offering any compensation. But if you take the bigger picture there, you've got to understand that if you do not offer some sort of incentive, some way to bring your buyers in, why will they come to you? A buyer is going to typically want representation. And so for sellers, I think we're going to see is that they're just going to have a huge drop off of potential buyers.
I think you're going to see a combination of both.
Little incentives. Yeah. I feel like the incentives are going to come elsewhere. We're going to see them giving large, maybe 12A concessions, the closing costs to enable the buyer to then compensate their agent if that's the case. But then I think there's some sort of misconception that buyers are suddenly going to get whatever commission was going to be paid to their broker or off the price of the house. And it's just not going to happen.
No.
You're not going to see that dramatic drop. So
no, I don't think so. I think you have to educate them about that.
So being fairly new in this entire industry, I was trying to understand why so many people are freaking out. And what I didn't understand is by some of the articles that I read, it was mentioned something relating to commissions not being standard, but you guys are saying that was always the case.
It's always been the
case.
That's how we've operated.
Yeah. So why are people freaking out then if it's really not?
Because they don't.
Change.
Yeah.
Change. It doesn't matter what industry you have. Anything that you deal with day to day. Okay. people are just generally afraid of change. Okay, it's the unknown, and there's not one person that will tell you, "Oh, I'm not afraid of the unknown." We all are, you know. This big figure right here, I'm afraid of the unknown. Yeah, but here's the thing, though. It doesn't. My fear does not stop me from doing something. Right? It doesn't stop me from stepping forward. It doesn't stop me from taking the step.
Asking the difficult questions.
Right. So that's going to be the difference. Is will your fear of the unknown, will your fear of change stop you from taking that step or going in that direction?
It's a comfort zone thing. You know,
stepping out of your comfort zone.
We encourage our team every day is to step out of your comfort zone. If you are comfortable, you're not making money. It's a very hard thing to do, and 100%. To be able to push yourself is going to expand you both personally and within your career. Doing something to find out whether, you know, what is on the other side, you know, it's very important. So having that, being more, I'm also frequently, as you guys know, that contracts is my thing. You know, that's what the majority of things I do for the team. I know the paperwork. And the amount 9 times out of 10, I'm seeing and having to educate other agents on how to complete that paperwork correctly, legally, also to benefit their client in the best possible way.
I remember my first time getting with contracts with you.
Was it? I don't remember. Was I really bad?
No. I was like, okay, how do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? And I'm just like,
there's a lot.
There is. It's very, and you understand, I mean, all of that comes from familiarity. You know, I've been looking at these things. So when we have slight changes like this, it's easy for me to be able to, you know, maneuver, leverage, whatever you want to call it. But I think that's a lot of it is making people understand what we're going to have a whole episode on HOA addendums. I'm just going to say that.
We do. I think we definitely need that.
But so with this, if that thing has always been there, that if the seller doesn't pay the compensation, then it's on the buyer to pay the buyer's agent compensation.
Yep.
So nothing's really changed apart from the fact we can't advertise it on the MLS.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
So you guys may think this is some sort of a dumb question.
No, it's no dumb
question. No such thing.
See, we all say the same.
All the
same. No such thing.
So why hasn't it been an industry standard that buyers pay for buyer's agent and seller pays for seller's agent?
You can't tell people what to charge on their house. It's all negotiable.
Yeah.
It's not illegal. The things that are in the contract that are standard have gone through a rigorous legal underwriting.
In Texas, you know, you've got the broker consumer group, right? The ones that buy everything.
Yeah.
You have six and one.
Oh yes, yeah. One
so
is independent.
Six agents, 6 attorneys, 1 individual.
Yeah.
Broker lawyer.
Yeah.
There you go for the promulgated forms, everything like that. So
it's been such a long time since I've done it. I can't even remember the name of it. But yeah, you've got a group of six brokers, 6 attorneys, and 1 consumer that write all of our documents. So it's not like it's not going through, you know, people that know what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got people at the top of their game on both sides.
If we said that there was a standard commission, you wouldn't be able to offer other things or more incentives.
But it also I think that breaks a lot of federal rules
probably.
and regulations.
I wonder if it's something to do with the lending law.
No, it's antitrust laws and stuff like that.
But yeah, as I said, they've always been negotiable, and I know that one thing that we've done frequently for our
so to answer your question, when you do commercial, that's the case, because there are plenty of deals out there commercial. Mickey, you and I know this, that they do not offer buyer's agent compensation. They have a listing fee that they're charging, the broker's charging the owner or the seller, which could be some mega corporation that has decided they're not paying the other side. And it happens a lot.
It happens a lot. And it's super open for negotiation. You know, there is no standard 6% there. Never has been. and never will be.
No.
And plenty of times, Arthur and I will mentor a new agent who wants to learn commercial. They'll talk to us about a particular listing, and what's one of the first things we tell them? Did you ask how much the buyer side commission is?
Exactly.
Because it's not written, right? So there's no disclosure.
No.
You have to ask the other party.
You have to ask, and they have to tell you, oh, there isn't any.
Or
there is.
Or you're getting this.
Or we're splitting it this way.
So basically, the commercial industry has been following it since the beginning. It was
Pretty
just
much.
residential.
Pretty
and
much.
Now residential is catching up with the way commercial works.
Yes, and that's why Arthur and I are not freaking out, because we kind of live with this right now.
Yeah.
On the commercial side, we've already kind of played around with this.
Yeah.
So there were deals where on a 6% commission, I got paid 1% because that's what I was told.
Yeah.
So it's just because
They charged the seller 6%.
Exactly.
But they were only offering 1% buyer's compensation. Right?
What did you do?
Oh, I went
just
through
go
with
with
it. It was a $3 million deal, so nothing I was going to turn down.
Yeah.
And I asked, and I negotiated with the side. I said, you don't have to give me half, but could you give me 2%? And they said no. So it is what it is. At that point, it's up to you to see, okay, are you going to complete the deal?
But at the end of the day, it's not about us. It's about
the client.
Right.
If that client wants
He
that
wanted that
property,
property.
then you turn around and you talk to your client about
You got to suck it up.
Yeah.
You know,
and if there was no compensation, you go back to your client and say, hey,
can you take care of me?
Yeah.
And what can you get for me? So yeah, those conversations were already had on the commercial side. For example, we have another mentee whose clients are from California.
Yeah.
Right? Those clients are already prepared to pay us a fee if the sellers don't pay anything. So if we find them a property that's off market, that's really not even listed, we can literally go to our buyer side and say, hey, we're going to help you find this thing and close on it. And they already have a tiered system of something they're going to pay us, whether it's 2% at a certain amount or 3%.
Yeah.
So it's something we're already used to doing with buyers on the commercial side.
I mean, no one works for free.
No, there's...
Well, nobody
100%.
wants to work for free, but sometimes you do.
Sometimes you just end up. And you find yourself like, okay, well, here I am.
And I think that's just where the education is going to come towards those buyers, is letting them understand that previously, there might still, out of the 5 houses that you want to go see, 4 of them still might be offering compensation. But if you decide that you like that 5th house and you're adamant that that's the one that you want to go, then you're going to be on your own.
Yeah.
And then you're going to have, and I know I've had people who come to us directly on our listings and say they don't want an agent, and then they start asking for advice. I'm like, well, we represent the seller.
I represent the seller.
So we're going to do it in our seller's best interest, not in yours.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing. Well, that's not our problem.
Not up to me.
You need to find representation. There's this very big misconception about how real estate works, how that you are, all we do is open doors and, give people documents to sign. But as you know, from your very short time, there's a lot more involved.
100%. A lot of people have this misconception that we're just opening doors and conducting open houses and looking pretty.
Because that's all we do.
But there's a lot more that goes into it, which you guys are actually allowing me to get my feet wet with.
Yeah.
Before we go to the next question, one more thing I want to add to that. The other, I think when Jacob passed and I had to take over the team.
Yeah.
You and I were talking about how much actually your hourly worth is. There's a conversation you and I had because I was doing everything myself. I was going to deliver signs. I was going to deliver Supras. I was picking those things back up. And I was, pulling over in the car and writing the contract.
Pick up a Supra.
See? Remind us. So when I was doing that, Arthur came to me, and we were just talking, but he's like, look, let's calculate something real quick. How many hours do you think you're going to spend driving back and forth? And now calculate that by the delivery fee of what this company will charge you. Are you actually making more money by not going, or are you making more money by doing this, by wasting your gas and time? So if you think about that in a bigger perspective of what realtors do, there's a lot of stuff that people don't see.
Yeah.
All they're going to see is the opening doors and saying hello.
And the check that you got.
And the check. And a couple of videos that we make for, or pictures that we take.
Yeah.
But everything on the back end that's done, no one sees that.
Yeah, but they all also assume that those pictures, was taken by a phone and it's
yes,
it's cheap.
It's
right?
cheap. It's free, right? It's done. Yeah. And so there's a lot of value to us that's not noticed. And so I even toyed with the fact of putting a percentage, breakdown for my sellers and telling them at 3% you're getting this, at 2% you're getting this, at 1% you're getting this.
That at one point.
we did that,
And we
for
may
a
have to
while.
do that,
Well, we
as
were
a
working
team.
with a lot of
that's
investors.
a great idea.
But it was just something to educate my clients. Like, hey, I'm not working. All these three things you're seeing here are three different types of effort.
You want me
And
to
there
do
are
X, Y,
times-
and Z? At the end of the day, it's, hey, X, Y is fine. Z starts going into Saturdays and Sundays.
It's a whole different realm.
And 6, 7 o'clock in the evening.
It's a whole
that
different
I'm
realm.
cutting into
Yes.
time that I would spend with my family.
Yes. Think about it this way.
Yeah.
Doctors charge us crazy. What hours are
Hey.
doctors working?
The-
9 to 5.
Exactly.
You're not getting them after 5, and you're definitely not getting them on the weekend. So it's one of those things where I had to kind of put that on paper just to value myself and really say, okay, well, this is what I'm doing. I need to justify my work to some clients that are not educated on it. Sorry, and now we can go to the next question.
No. I think you that's a very important thing. Is I know a lot of people don't think that they don't see the worth. Again, it's up to you to educate them to see the other side, what they would do without. If you go into this transaction, I mean, this is going to be possibly the largest financial decision you ever make.
For 90% of the folks, that's true.
Yeah.
And yet you're
That is the
going
biggest
to
investment.
just hope that the person, the salesman, the used car salesman, as we've been called before, is going to make the right decision for you. It just doesn't compute for me.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
And going back to what you're saying there, Lou, most people try to negotiate with you as well as a buyer. Sometimes they'll ask for a, kickback or some contribution back.
Yes.
I've had to break it down with like writing it on a piece of paper for my client once, where my client asked for 2%, let's say on a $500,000 deal. My client said, give me 2% back, right? It's 10 grand. So I went to my client. I said, when we went to this builder, I got you 40 grand off. Now would you rather have that? Or would you rather just have my 2%? Which one would you rather have? Me negotiate like crazy and work for you and actually get you 40 grand? Or are you just going to be okay if I don't do any of that and just give you 2% and you're happy with the 10 grand? So once I broke that down, that buyer realized, well, you're more worth to me by actually keeping your 3 and just getting me a better deal on my house.
I think a lot of people think that they can go and get a better deal anyway. What they don't realize is we know a lot of these builders. We know what they're willing to do.
We
know
a relationship
how
with them.
far they're willing to come down on a property that's priced X, Y, or Z.
You hear this all the time. Oh, I got free sprinklers, and you're like, well, everyone's getting sprinklers right now.
everyone's
So
getting
you didn't get anything.
get
That's
anything.
not
Or
all.
they gave me free blinds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Well,
would have got
what'd
you
you pay?
the blinds. I could have got you the sprinklers.
the washer,
And
dryer,
I could got
and
you
refrigerator.
$15,000-$20,000.
Yes. Exactly.
And that's what, and again, because we built that relationship, we spent the time, we've done the years of work, we go and pop in with these, we bring them clients, they want us to bring more clients. So that's
But
why we get
they
those
also,
incentives.
when we go in, they know, like, for example, there's a couple of builders, I won't name names, that when I go in, they know I'm going to beat them up on the pricing. And
But
that's what I do.
That's our job, though.
Yeah.
That's our job.
It is, you're right.
We're in the trenches looking out for the clients. So
And I do. And I generally bring down the price a good percentage. And
If we can, and typically, like we recently were doing some deals for some repeat investor clients that we had with the new builds, and they weren't able to do much about the price. So instead, what they did was the goodies, the washer, dryer, refrigerator, all of that. We were able to get all those
closing,
You gotta get creative.
stuff like
and closing
that.
costs. Yeah, you get creative, and you have to understand what those are, though, to be able to ask for them.
exactly.
Speaking of prices, how do you guys think the average median home pricing strategies or current prices have changed over the last couple of years?
Always going crazy.
We'll just say the last 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's
Just the last 5.
It's
it
so
has been
cyclical.
crazy.
It's very cyclical, but it's also, we've had some very unique situations in the market the last few years.
So when I started doing real estate in Houston, I'm thinking about numbers here. When I started, we had 2 of the most foreclosed neighborhoods in the country here in Houston. 2 of them. One of them is
Sure.
further south from
So
here,
they
but
remain nameless?
yeah, we don't do that.
But they were, yeah.
Shall
So in the
name it.
country,
But
they
we
were
had-
declared to be the most
so-
foreclosed.
The price, the average price point was at the time, I believe it was like 205
Wow.
average
For what, like a 3-2?
for Houston. Well, it's an average price of a home.
The
205.
Yes,
205. You hear that probably? That was 15 years ago.
Whoa.
$205,000. It was somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And then by 2014, 15,
When I
I would
started.
say, yeah, I would say it was up to the 280s.
That's what I remember. 275 to 290, somewhere in
Yeah.
that range.
Yeah, and it had gone that much within
Within 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, because we had a big influx of people from 2012 up till about
Which, of
2015.
course, raised prices because,
And
demand.
on top of that, builders. The other thing is builders weren't building as many
No,
houses
they really started
because
stepping up.
we just had the huge foreclosure crisis. It was not
That's true.
pleasant.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And to top it off, builders were not building lower priced houses. So the majority of houses, I mean, you remember there were no houses sub 250.
Oh, no, there were not. No.
So most of the builders were building above that, and most of them were building in the 400 to 600 range.
Oh, my goodness.
Which
I
back
remember
then
that was,
was
back then it was
very-
like
yeah.
high luxury.
Yeah.
It
And
felt
that
like
was
$1 million.
luxury properties at the time.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, if you had done I remember doing the course for luxury home sales, right? For the designation. If you had sold houses that were 500,000 or more in our area, and that was considered luxury, and it qualified you for the luxury designation.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, if you had
Yes,
done
interesting.
two
How
of those
many years
sales,
ago was this?
this was like 2014, between
So
2012 to
10 plus
yeah.
years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. It's changed.
Now
You could still some neighborhoods still qualify as luxury if they're in that price point, depending on the zips. There is a
Yeah.
zip code
yeah, but
differential,
it's in the 700s now.
yeah.
It's gone up.
Yeah.
It's gone up.
For sure, it's
Inflation,
gone up.
It's all inflation.
I mean, look, what's the median today?
High 380s, I think.
close to 4.
Yeah, close
Yeah.
to 400,000.
So, I mean, I remember, I just had a call this morning from a lady who's looking for a brand new 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house in the sort of southwest Houston for under 200.
And we're like,
I could get you an apartment.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
we're not good at finding unicorns.
No, unfortunately, those are hard.
Fabled creature.
Yes.
Fable creature. Well, no, I mean
Well, there was
be.
there
There was a day when you could,
Wait.
but not now.
I know. I mean, I never say never.
sub 300, yeah.
Sub 3, yeah, for sure. But
Sub
maybe in the
2?
low, you might be able to find a little town home.
Possibly.
low
Yeah, you could get
twos?
a town home possibly. And the last 5 years, COVID's kind of caused a lot. But my personal take on the last couple of years with home pricing and the market in Texas has been, we're finally found. I felt like we were a hidden gem as a state.
Yeah.
We were a hidden gem, and no one really looked at Texas for living.
No.
And COVID happens, and all of a sudden, everybody's like, "Ooh,
Everyone.
taxes.
Texas is where
Ooh,
it's at.
values. For $1 million, what can I get here?" And so, dive right in, head
It's-
first.
You know what's so funny is when you have conversations with your sellers, and they're like, "Do you not have any of those California buyers coming
Yes,
in
they say
to
that all
offer
the
me a
time.
cash price?"
Yeah,
I'm like,
Sorry, California buyers. But
it's the truth. But
Dang.
our little hidden gem is not a hidden gem anymore.
No.
You know?
Well, I mean, Texas is pretty large.
Now it's
gem.
it's
But
all,
Yeah.
but no, everybody ignored it for so long.
that's right.
Or who wants to go to Texas? We do.
Yeah,
It's
the
really
value for
nice.
your buck over here.
We're the
is
final
crazy.
frontier. You know how
Yeah.
everybody went west for a while? Everybody's
Yeah.
coming in the mid now.
What $400,000 can get you here in Texas cannot get it for you.
You can get maybe a 1-bedroom
Yeah,
villa apartment.
I've seen
for
that,
that.
and I'm new, so
But it's not just that high. Think about this, right? Where in the United States can you go and buy a house for 400,000, which is okay. There's plenty of places, but where can you buy a house for 400,000 and have all of the things that Houston have to offer?
Exactly. That's the point.
Right?
It's a combo.
Mm.
Think
Best combo.
about everything that Houston has to offer. Right? It rivals the greatest cities in the country. You can compare it to New York, right? We're constantly being compared to New York, Chicago, LA.
Yep.
Why? Because we have almost everything they have.
Great infrastructure.
Right?
We've got
the
great
infrastructure,
schools,
we've got schools,
colleges,
we've got the food,
medical
we've got the food.
center.
We've got room to grow.
We
Yeah.
have the
That's
food.
another thing.
I don't have room to grow.
Our stomachs don't, but the land
Yeah.
does.
Yeah,
but
we do, and
the
we do.
food. I
That's
mean,
it.
the food is unbelievable.
There's a great social. There's great social life. There's like you
Even
don't
your
have
day
to
to
go.
day expenses.
Pardon?
Even your day to day
Yes.
expenses here. You're
Yeah,
not.
your gas. That was something that
And
I remember.
we've been named the most cosmopolitan city.
Yeah.
In the U.S. multiple times.
Mm-hmm. I think Fort Bend County is still the most diverse county in the U.S. Correct? Am I right?
I think so.
I
Fort Bend
will,
County. Yep.
I will look that up sometime later
There
on.
you go.
Some homework for you.
But I'm guessing that
Well,
sounds
considered
right.
the most diverse.
Yeah.
Let's say
Yeah.
actually.
I've
Yes.
seen that, so it should be true. I've seen the diversity here ever since moving here 4 years ago, which is one of the biggest changes of my life. Having spent the last 10 years in India, in Mumbai, one of the biggest bustling cities you could
Oh Lord.
name. Like, you get out of your house at 2 a.m. and it's like the world is
Still,
alive.
I know.
Yeah, no one's sleeping. City that actually never
Yeah,
sleeps.
it's true.
Fun fact: this man here has been to Mumbai.
He told me this and I did not believe it.
Oh, that's true.
It was an experience and a half.
Yeah.
We actually got out of our apartment. Well, I was still in school, but I was with my friend's family. We'd leave the apartment at like 3:00 in the morning, and we could go and find food. It was-
Exactly.
There's places open.
Well, there's parts of Houston that you could do that as well,
Well,
but maybe.
There's like 5 places I could count, and they all shut by like midnight. Midnight's like stretching it.
Yeah.
2 a.m., 3 a.m. probably, but like over there, you could like go to a
Yeah.
stand
24
and
hours
you
a
have
day.
someone
Yeah, that's
serving you
it.
chai
24
hours.
at 2 a.m.
Yeah, I walked down. I'm like, do these people ever sleep? It's like everyone, and there's and occasionally you walk into a cow. Don't touch the cows.
I remember we were working with a guy a few years ago who was from Mumbai, and we were having this call, and it was like we asked him, "Well, what time is it with you?" Because it was like 2, 3 a.m. in the morning, and all you can hear in the background is traffic, beep 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 beep. And I'm like, "Where are you?" He goes, "Yeah, it's always like this. The streets are always this
I think
noise."
we're all used to that noise.
Yeah,
We don't hear it anymore.
yeah.
I don't hear the honking anymore.
The crazy thing is, once you're there for like 3 or 4 days,
You get numb to it.
you don't even hear
It's
it.
white
anymore.
noise. After that, yeah.
It's just
It's so crazy.
like
It's and just so you know, and I know all of our Indian people listening will appreciate this. In India, people use the horn to just let you know that they have a car in their next to you. Beep.
I exist.
I exist.
I exist.
I am here.
Yes.
There's
Am I
no other
lying?
purpose.
Am I
There's-
lying?
You are correct.
I've driven in
There
India.
is
So
no-
what happens if you do something really wrong? And
There is no
you won't
police.
know.
There's a war on the street. Like, people get out of their car.
Yeah, exactly.
They're gonna be grabbed
We
by
police
the
ourselves.
collar and be
Oh.
like,
We
police
"What did
ourselves,
you do? What did you say to me?"
Yes.
wow,
Oh,
nice,
yeah.
fun.
Everyone else is just entertainment.
Yes.
So,
It's true.
So, Mickey, where were you born?
I was born in the state of Gujarat.
Okay.
I was born there. I stayed there till I was 9, and I came here when I was 9. So I was born there.
Okay, so none of us here at this table were born here in Houston.
I was.
You
Oh, she
were
moved-
born
but then she
in
moved back
Houston?
in
I
Houston.
was-
She was born
I'm
in-
from
and then she
Texas.
moved
Yep,
back.
yep,
Yeah.
See,
born in Texas.
I know it's
Bloody Yankees.
so cold out here. Let up shot. No, seriously, we find that interesting that even within our team itself, we have such
We have
huge
people
diversity.
from
Got a lot of
every-
diversity.
Yeah.
Languages.
No, but I like the fact that we're diverse. I enjoy being
The
able
food?
to. Yes, but I also enjoyed the camaraderie we have
We have some great conversations as well about,
about different cultures.
I
and
feel like
different-
we're able to, look outside and bring all of our different experiences from our different social and cultures to try to problem solve. So when things come up, everyone's able to, add their 2 pence worth, as it were, to try to get the problem solved. That's a good thing.
Oh yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
But as I say, the real estate here is done completely different to the UK. So it was a whole new education for me, like trying to sort of navigate how those things were done. I'm still like, now when I go back, I can't understand why the UK are so behind in the way they do real estate.
The same companies have been running things there for the past 300-400 years.
600
they-
years.
They tend to
Whoa.
keep it the same way.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah,
Okay, so you guys believe that Houston's competitive landscape is
It's
more
absolutely,
I
yeah,
think,
out
I think
there.
growth.
the U.S. in general.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
The U.S. encourages a lot of business competition.
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably have the British government coming after me for this, but the thing is, in
passport.
the status quo, the status quo is very hard to change in England.
I think
right?
that's the same way in a
There's
lot of
very
European
little
countries.
disruption. Yeah, there's very little disruption.
We have
to
done this for
establish
600 years, so why are we going to change
establish
now?
norms? There's
Yeah.
very little changes that happen with
Mm.
those. Whereas here, you have some kid come out with something, some innovation of some
Revolutionary,
sort, and it disrupts the whole
If it
industry.
works,
Right.
yeah, then
And if
then
it
the
works,
industry
people,
adopts it.
it catches on quickly and off it goes.
So true.
100%.
I think it's harder for those things to tend to grab hold of people in Europe. And don't get me wrong, I mean, they're still very technologically advanced. It's just certain things are done certain ways,
Yeah.
and there is no changing that.
Good.
Yeah, we're way
So
off
true.
topic now. Let's
Yeah.
go back to the original conversation.
So I will most probably cut and bit this part
Yeah.
of the. So what should we've been talking for how long now?
Probably close to 30, 35 minutes.
Okay, I can ask you guys 2 more questions,
Let's do
and
it.
then I can
Edit
make this.
after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see what we can do.
Let's see. What do you guys think? We spoke about Texas. Okay, let me just pick it up again so I can take part of the
We
video.
pause it.
No, I'll just snip
Okay.
it and then I'll add this
Cool.
part. So we talked about why you should move to Texas. We talked about what makes Texas so great. We talked about average median home prices compared from the last decade. And then we talked about, remind me again, what was the first thing we
market.
talked about?
The market today.
Houston market.
NAR's ruling.
NAR's $418 million settlement and diversity.
Food.
Food. Whenever
It always
Arthur
comes back
is
to
involved,
food.
we cannot not talk about food. Okay, so my next question for you guys is, with the entire competition going on between inventory levels in the current market, what would you guys suggest, or how would you advise buyers to strategize their offers with these bidding wars?
Talk to the agents. Talk to the listing agent. What do the sellers want? What are they looking for? There's no harm. So as being on the other side, as a listing agent, I want to say, well, we did a deal a few years ago. It was, we had 87 offers within 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
So you can imagine.
That was during the craziness.
But my
But
point
bear
is,
this in mind before you continue. Bear this in mind. Even today, if a house is priced well, it's in a good neighborhood. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's in an area that people are moving to by the droves. Chances are you're going to be competing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You'll get offers above asking.
Yeah, we're still seeing multiple offers and offers going over asking price.
But yeah, if you come in and have conversations with the listing agent, that's why I tell all the guys on our team, never burn bridges. Even if an agent that you've worked with in the past has been less than helpful or awkward,
not entirely nice.
You never know when you're going to meet them
Absolutely
again.
Never know.
So you never burn bridges. You always are their best friend Like,
Always.
what can I do for you? What, my client's really interested in the house. What is the seller looking for? Try to get some insight. Maybe they want a lease back. Maybe they are looking for a clean, straight offer, close quick. Try to tailor your offer to what the seller wants. I mean, if you don't have that, then the least concessions possible. I always, a nickel and diming selling does not, it doesn't matter. It's very personal. Residential is a very personal transaction. So if a seller feels you're nickel and diming them, they are not going to be open to any other.
The seller will start stomping their feet too. They get upset. Bear in mind, the seller, this is their home that they find, that they love and they have put a lot of love into. And you're coming in and saying all these
we hate the colors, so we got to go and change the entire house. And that
doesn't work very well with sellers.
So clean offers. Don't ask for home warranties if you know you're in a competing.
And generally, if the listing agent tells you there's multiple offers, err on the side that they do have multiple offers. They're not just telling you that, because you will find out pretty soon. I mean, we had a listing that was sitting there for almost 3 months. Okay, nothing at all. No showings for 2 months. None, zero. And then we ended up with 3 offers on the same day.
It can happen.
It's just the way
that's just the way this market is.
Yeah, and here's the craziest part. This is not an inexpensive home.
It was $1 million plus.
$1 million plus.
Yeah. And so we had said to them, okay, we have multiple offers, and
it doesn't seem that any of the agents believed us.
Yeah.
That's so great.
I feel like sometimes people, myself included, we've been kind of trained in a way, probably through college, school, our parents, mentors, people we've met in the past, that when negotiation 101, when someone says something, they're most probably not telling the truth.
Which is
and they're probably
generally correct.
Then you have that conversation with your buyer and say, hey, they say there's multiple offers. We have no way of confirming this. Well, you mean, depending, sometimes the listing agent is willing to show you, or let you know at least, not what the price is, but that they can show you that, here's another offer.
I have offers. These are the agents.
Yeah. And it comes down to having that conversation with your buyer that says, okay, so how much do you want this home? Like, are you prepared to offer X amount? And, if you don't, you do have that potential of missing out, and that's on you. So it is about putting the pros and the cons on the table. How badly does that buyer want this house?
In our situation, 2 people ended up missing out.
Yeah, because the seller had gone back and what's what I'm looking for, had come back with a higher, what. My mind's gone completely
counter offer. You don't want counter offer?
Counted.
There you go.
They'd counted. Got there. So the seller had counted, and the other 2 buyers no, we're fine, because they didn't believe that there was another. But one of the people said, "Yep, okay, here you go. Here's and they came up, and they were successful." It's kind of funny because one of the
we asked for highest and best, which is a good way to do things.
Yeah,
that's a good way.
And both of them, all 3, right? One of them backed out.
One of them backed out
because they said there was multiple offers. They're not interested.
Mm-hmm.
The other 2 came back with the same offer.
Yep.
And we're like, okay, well.
So we went back to our client and said, hey, I think they think we don't have multiple offers.
Yeah. So that's a loss on them.
Yeah. But then the seller turned around and said, okay, counter at this.
Yep.
But I will tell you that
we counted both of them.
The agent, we did, but the agent that won was the one that kept coming. Okay, she was the one that was most communicative with us and said, okay, so my buyers really want this house. If we were, what can we do to do that? And obviously you can't favor that. You can't say, but you can tell them what the seller is looking for. The seller counted.
This is what the seller counted with. This is what they prefer.
So again, it's that communication.
Big time. Speaking of communication, I was always taught if I'm representing the buyer, call the listing agent.
Yes.
Wouldn't that be
Introduce
Pick up the
yourself.
phone. Pick up the phone.
And you know how I started treating it after a while? I've got a sports mentality. So I would call the listing agent and say, look, we're representing our own clients.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we're not on the same team, you and I.
Yeah.
And so I'll always say, look, you can go through your playbook with me and tell me, what is it going to take for me to get the victory here?
Mm-hmm.
And that essentially, they're getting the victory too. It is executed contract.
Yeah.
It's a win-win. But so that's a big established relationship you have with that agent. Say, look, what will it take?
And
If my client
at
will
the end
do
of the
it,
day, both you as a buyer's agent and
the listing
listing agent have the same end goal in mind.
we're on the same
Is
team.
to get the
Exactly.
property sold.
But
That's
yeah, you
the
do have.
that's
I know
the
what you're
ultimate
saying.
goal.
You have people that treat you like you're the enemy.
And that's
you know?
where I'm like, we're
How's
on the
this gonna
same
work?
team.
Yeah, we're all
We're literally trying to
make
get this
work.
deal done.
Yeah, we're trying to make one side happy. You're trying to make the other side happy. Okay, and if we work together, we will all be happy. We'll get to the point where we want to be, and everybody wins.
And we're not doing an injustice to our clients.
No,
Because we know what our limitations
Yeah.
are for the client. So say
and
you're
we
the
don't
listing agent.
we don't
Arthur.
divulge that. That's
Exactly.
our job.
We're
is
not
to
doing. We're not
divulge.
talking details. But if I were to call you as a listing agent, I would say, Arthur, what will it take for my buyer to get this house? You would tell me, hey, look, the terms are important to the buyer, or closing date
Yeah.
is important,
Mhm.
or appraisal is important. Like there's a few things that the seller really
With
has to have.
concessions
Yeah.
and stuff.
So then
yeah.
I know how to put this contract together to make sure that it looks good on our end. I still protect my buyer, and we'll get this deal done.
And here's the other thing. I'm going to tell my client, say, hey, we've had 3 offers.
Mhm.
This guy just sent me an offer. I didn't hear anything more from him. This guy just sent me a document. I never heard anything more from him. This guy here, that all of their numbers, although they're the same, this guy's been very communicative. He wants to know how to make this work. What's the best thing? So at the end of the day, I know the offers are up. You decide. You're the seller. But this one here has been the most
It
communicative.
is that perception.
So they turn around and they say, okay, well, go back to them and say, this is what we're looking for. And
There
I
you
go
go.
to all 3.
There you go.
9 times out of 10, one of the other ones will never respond to you,
No,
as you know,
I know.
right?
I know I'll do it.
Yeah, and
the ones
agents,
that don't even fill in
agents
the
out
last
there,
page. One of my
agents
notebooks,
out there, if you do this, remember, not responding to the listing agent is not doing you any favors or your clients any favors. Okay,
No.
number one. So that one never responds, so they're thrown out.
Please write that down.
And they are automatically throwing
Yes.
themselves out.
Yeah,
We didn't do it.
We didn't
We
do
didn't
it.
do
They
it to them.
did.
They did it to themselves.
Yeah. And then number 2, number 3 come back with this, and this one says, well, whatever they want, and they try to play hardball. Number 3, which in this case, let's say it's you come back and say, okay, we're happy to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Will this work?
Yep.
We take it back to our client, and they're like, yay, let's get a document signed. Now, 5 days later, Mr. Number 1 over here, who decided not to respond, comes
Asks
back
him,
and
how's
says,
my offer
"Hey,
doing?
how does my offer look?
I don't know. We've been pending for 3 days.
Am I lying?
No.
Am I lying with
We've
you?"
all been
And
there.
those are typically people that don't actually look at their emails over the weekend either. So
And Louisa's gone through this where she's actually emailed that agent saying, hey, we went with another offer.
yeah,
And they still call her and say, hey, what's the status? She's like,
Oh,
I
no.
literally emailed you 3 days ago telling you that we
unfortunately,
already accepted
you were
something.
one of my favorite. Fortunately, you were unsuccessful.
That happens.
You
a
think
lot.
we're joking?
No, these are life stories.
I believe it. I
These are
believe
life
it
stories.
100%.
Unfortunately, there are people that, I didn't see it was must have been in my spam. Well, why didn't you follow up 3 days ago? You know?
It happens quite a bit. So
Yeah. But
you gotta
yeah, so
separate
for
yourself.
sure,
Good business practice. Check your emails
Check your
and your
emails.
spam regularly.
follow up with a phone call. Did you see? I sent an offer, and I
Did
teach
you
everyone.
receive my?
Text them if they don't pick up, because no one picks up phones, right? So
But
you
text is
call
so
them,
simple.
leave a voicemail, and then you text them, say, "Hey, this is Louise with EXP. I just sent you an offer. Please check. Let me know you received it."
I ask for confirmation text.
I do.
When I
Okay,
send
yeah.
it to Louisa does too.
Yeah.
So I'll say, could you please confirm you saw my email?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I have a thing that she replied and said she got my text.
Because it does
She got
happen.
my
It
email.
does happen. You end up, especially to people who have Yahoo emails,
What about
they're
it?
terrible for business.
I don't know
Because
why.
Well, they exclusion.
Their servers
throw your
are so
emails
Yeah,
into
it doesn't
our-
like attachments. So
Yeah.
if you have a large attachments and you try to send it
Oh my
to
God, yeah, that's
also
annoying. Yeah.
another thing, please, when you send your offer documents, it is always better to send them in legible PDF attachments,
Separate.
not a mixture of docs, Microsoft Word here, and you've got some JPEGs thrown in. Just make it cohesive and professional looking.
Also,
Look at we're getting a lot of this.
I would also advise anybody that still has their high school emails
please, yes.
to change them.
Oh damn, yeah.
BigPimpDaddy@gmail.com
Yeah.
does not work.
What is that?
Big Pip Daddy.
Big
At
Pip
gmail.com does
Daddy at
not,
I
that
love
does not work.
I love big butts that
Yeah,
are lined
yeah,
up
none of that.
at gmail.com.
Oh, here we go. You know you're going to have to edit that now. But no, that's even tame on what we
No,
normally.
this is not going to be edited, Arthur.
Well, we
So,
actually.
you're
we
gonna be.
if
He
some-
doesn't
if there-
realize I'm actually not gonna edit this.
But perfect. Please
If
don't.
there
Okay,
are
so
we're
agents that
telling
do
the
not
truth here.
have professional emails, we will notice.
Yes.
And we will
And
use
if
you
you
as an
send
example.
me your porn website email address, okay, I'm gonna go and check the website, which we have done before.
Oh my goodness.
I realized, oh, that's my client. Like, oh my God, I
Oh,
did not want to
no.
see that.
Oh no.
It happens.
Yeah.
It
People
happens.
don't realize that putting themselves out on the internet means
Putting
they're
yourself out.
searchable,
And
yeah.
Yeah.
We have, we have to because of our job. So we have, when we're doing background checks for leases and things like that, there are things that come up.
I know
Make your hair curl.
you're an M Patel, but there's another M Patel that you and I are really good friends with.
Wow.
Sent me to a person that had one of those emails. And he knew.
Man.
He knew. You know who I'm talking
Yes,
about.
I do.
The other
So
M
now we're
Patel
telling
that
that, like,
all too well.
Now we're having some inside talk.
What's up, buddy?
with-
And he sent me to this person's house. And then he's like, did you see her email? I was like, no. He's like, what's wrong with the email? He's like, go check the email address. So I went and checked the email address.
Check
I'm
the
like,
domain. I was like, did you know that our client is doing this? I was like,
Oh,
no.
I was like, check the email.
Anyway, so if your client does have a less than professional email, it is always advisable. Just like we tell our kids, just had to do that with my kid who's in university. His
This is not a good email
Andy Earlobes at Gmail is
because that's his gamer
Did you say
nickname.
Andy Earlobe?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Andy
that's
Earlobe.
his gamer
Oh my
nickname,
God.
right?
Oh my goodness.
so we encouraged him to get his full name and
Like,
the proper Gmail
Andrew?
before he starts applying.
That's so funny.
Or,
That's so
Oh,
funny.
yeah, but you don't.
You're right.
I can tell you right now that 9 out of the 10 people watching this right now have still got the same email that they opened their Roblox account with in 2009
Or
Minecraft
or their first email at college.
Ever.
at AOL.com.
I mean,
Oh.
Yes.
now
I don't
you're
even
telling
know what
people how-
AOL is.
No,
Oh
it's
my
people how old we
God.
are.
America
She-
Online.
You know who
She just
AOL
aged
is?
herself.
Oh Lord.
She just aged herself.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't even know what
Age
If you
yourself.
AOL is.
see
Yeah.
an AOL.com,
Yeah.
did you ever watch that old
they
movie?
had
You've Got
the
Mail.
first
Yes.
emails.
You got
Oh.
mail.
In this country.
Yeah.
AOL
This
had the
was
first
basically not there during like
Yeah.
No.
my
Every
growing
magazine-
up time.
every
You were
magazine-
probably
Bored.
5, maybe.
That's why I don't know it.
Every magazine came with an AOL disk.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And you installed it on your computer and you had the
Yeah,
AOL
those were the
browser.
days. Then we can talk about
America
dial-up.
Online.
That was even fun.
It's like
Speaking
it's
of-
like Friendster, right?
Yeah, it's like Blockbuster
Yeah,
days. People used to
Blockbuster.
go rent DVDs.
Yes.
Don't mess with Blockbuster. That was like one of the highlights of Saturday afternoon.
I used
Good
to rent
times with
video
Blockbuster.
games from Blockbuster.
We did.
Yeah.
And video games too. I remember that old video shop in Seychelles we used to go to. Do you remember when we
Yes,
first started?
yes.
We've been together a long time. And
24 and a half years.
No, 23 and a half. 24 this
Your
year.
25 is next year.
Oh shoot, yeah.
25 years of marriage.
Next
no,
year.
not quite.
Next
year.
Together,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
Oh, yeah, we've been together a minute. But when we first got together, we used to go to this
You know
little
you
video
get less
shop
for murder.
twice.
could have merged you and I would have been out.
15 years on parole.
Yeah. Tough times.
That is.
I know, go on. But yes, so that to come right back
Yes,
to where we were.
create a realtor.
Create
email
a good
address, please.
persona, be
Yes.
professional,
Very much so.
follow up, answer your phone. I mean, they really shouldn't have to tell agents to answer their phone. This is how you make money.
You kind of do.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's true.
there. And one of the things I encourage new agents, like same sort of age as well, is that texting is great. I love texting, but it's only for the people of a certain age. If you're dealing with clients who are in their 50s and 60s, they don't text. You must call them.
One of the things I used to tell people is if every time you picked up your phone, there was a chance for you to make $1,000, would you do it?
100% without thinking.
I got 50 calls today. What you
I'd be sleeping my phone on me, like, okay.
You see what I'm saying?
No, 100%. You have to.
Even if it was one call out of the 50
Make the
Yeah.
call.
that made you
Yeah.
$1,000.
Goes back to the formula you gave me about what are you worth hourly?
Exactly.
What are you worth?
What are you worth hourly?
Exactly.
What is this formula? Please decode it.
No.
Well, you calculate how much time you spend on a deal, right?
Okay.
And you calculate how much personal time you spend on it, how many hours on the weekends. And if you calculate that over time and you get paid $10,000 commission, if you calculate it and divide it by the hours, you didn't make a crazy amount of money per
Yeah.
hour,
Yeah.
right? You look at it that way.
You got to work it out. You have to
It's a
work it
regular
out.
job.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
Right.
ultimately.
So you're still getting started, right? So it's not going to make sense for you for the first year. Okay?
Yeah.
Your hourly rate is going to be terrible. But by the time you are
Minimum wage right now.
Yeah.
pretty much.
Yeah.
By the time you're year 2 to 3, you should be making a decent income if you're doing this right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. At that point, you sit down and you work out, okay, every day, and this is, you and I had this conversation. I said, every day, how many hours did you spend doing real estate activity, doing what you need to do in order for you to make your business work and make money?
Yep.
How many hours did you work per day?
Did you look at your text when you first woke up?
Yeah.
And you're sitting there,
Add
coffee,
all of those
scrolling through your
hours.
emails. To
How
make
many
sure
days in a
nothing's
week
missed.
did you
Yeah.
do it? Okay. Take all of those hours and see how much at the end of the year, how much did you make?
Mm-hmm.
Divide that by the number of hours you spent doing to make that kind of money.
Mhm.
Now you know what your hourly rate is. Okay? Now you figure out, wait a minute, if I go and waste an hour doing this, which could be something trivial or something that you think, oh, it doesn't matter, it's just 1 hour. But remember, that 1 hour doing whatever that it was that you just did ended up costing you this much.
You could have been much more productive using that hour somewhere
Right.
else. That's
In
all.
Mickey's case, we were saying, hey,
They were
you were
driving that
spending
into me.
He
Right?
was
an
driving
hour,
out into the country
Yeah.
with signs and spending
and he
like
was
4
literally
hours of
spending
his
an
day.
hour and a half to get there, an hour and a half back, putting us a
Physically
lockbox,
putting the lock
putting
on
a
the
sign, and then
during the week, then sitting in traffic. I mean,
sitting
like,
in traffic.
what are you
So he would have
doing?
spent 3 hours on a task that would have cost you what, $50?
$50. But
$50 for
I ended
somebody
up
else to do it.
spending
Yeah.
probably $600
Yes.
of my own money.
Yes.
By trying to save $50.
Yes.
So it just didn't make sense until they opened my eyes to it.
Well, we
I'm
were
like,
just,
how much did you spend to do that?
and it's a hard mentality.
I was like, oh,
I know to
and then I was
leverage
like,
some
really?
people sometimes.
Count a little
It's that
more.
blue collar mentality.
Yeah.
It is.
just
We all
work
think that we
hard,
can
we
do
all
it
wanna
better
do
ourselves.
We
Yeah.
all think that we should do.
Yeah.
We have to go and do this work. We need to work hard. But guess what? If somebody else can do it better than you, why not let them do
It's
it better
smart,
than you?
not hard.
Yeah.
You really
Leverage.
have to get to smart,
Yeah.
not hard.
Yeah.
And it's leveraging.
Work smart, not hard.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
It's a very common.
And then after that, I mean, I started doing this myself a while ago, but on my calendar, everything's color coded. I know what green means. Green's gonna make me money, so I'm gonna do the stuff that's green. Red, I have to do it. I don't care if I want to or not. Got to be done. Purple, green, whatever else, all the or orange, other colors are stuff that I can do. if I want to.
So here we're going
So-
into more of a time management
Yes,
and
yeah.
like
But as
allocating
realtors,
your
you know,
time.
I
That
think
is
you
very
realtors,
important thing to
yeah,
focus
they need to
on
realize
too.
that. Yeah,
Arthur leverages me a lot of the time.
but I think it works for your partnership. You
It
know,
does
if-
because because if you give Arthur to write an email, it is one of the most painful things. He's literally like this. The glasses. Hold on. Let me show you.
Louisa.
Where is this? Where's this? Lou, where's this email? Who am I emailing? What's the name?
Louisa.
Okay, where can I find that? And then you're like, okay. So I'd be like, okay, D E. I can't see. What's wrong with my screen? Lou.
What did you do
Yeah.
to my computer?
What did you do to my computer? Yeah. So it's like, so now it's, hey Lou, could you just respond to so and so and tell them like that? I'm like, yeah, we're done. So
It works for
obviously
them.
that
It works for
works for us because over these years we found out that that's my forte.
She does exaggerate, but yes.
Sure.
One of the things, a lot of the stuff I do, a lot of the stuff that I've learned and started using over the years, have actually come from my father telling me little fables when I was a kid.
Mm.
Right? Little stories of, hey, why do you do this? Why do you do that? Right? Like, I don't like pointing fingers. I don't point fingers and blame people. Right? And one of the reasons was my father always used to tell me, when you do this, you're pointing at that person, but there's 1, 2, 3 point back at you. It's like, you are the one who accepted whatever was given to you, even though you're blaming that person. So it's 3 times your fault, 1 time theirs.
Yeah.
So
This goes back to saying when you're working with other agents to work with grace. I want to say
Yes.
people make mistakes.
right,
karma.
don't blame them.
It's karma.
Think about, hey, what did I do? What could I have done different to not allow whatever happened to happen?
Or
right?
or
So
to let them,
be introspective. Look at yourself before you look
Can
at
I
the
do
other person.
there's no point yelling at somebody because a
Because
deal
you
went
didn't get the
south
deal.
or
Because any reason.
Exactly.
why didn't you tell sometimes there's extenuating circumstances you don't know, but I always do that motto of killing with kindness and also trying to give grace. So when people make mistakes, if somebody comes to me and says they try to hide something that they did wrong, I am all immediately like upset with that and turned off.
Yeah.
Whereas if they come to me and say, hey, we messed up,
And then you own it up.
and they say, okay, this is what went wrong, but this is how I'm going to fix it. Perhaps we missed an email or we missed a deadline, and that little bit of has helped us save deals in many situations. So as again, giving grace where grace is deserving. I always try to be that. Understand first. If someone comes to me and says, hey, this happened, this is how we're going to fix it. Great. Okay, no problem. Let's move on from that. And
I
get it
agree.
done.
It's about the karma.
Yeah. And back to the fable thing I was telling you about.
Mhm.
We talked about the cost of your
Your
cost
hourly,
of,
yeah. what
your
you're
hourly
worth out.
cost.
Yes.
Well, this comes to me because of this little story.
Mhm.
Okay, a father was knew he was going to pass, so he brought his 2 sons into the room, and he asked both of them. He told them, "Okay, so this is the task I'm going to set to you both, and at the end of once you guys have achieved this, I'm going to give you this amount of time to achieve it." And it was like 6 months. After that, I will no longer be around, and I'd like to pass on my company and all my assets and to one of you to be in charge. So the 2 brothers opened their letter, and the task was, hey, you need to take water from over here, which is at the bottom of a hill, and take it to this village on the other side of the hill, right? And the 2 brothers approached it differently. Brother number 1 decided he was going to go and buy some buckets and buy some containers, and he was going to transport the water and he had to transport X amount of water from this spot to the other spot. And he got to work straight away.
Mhm.
And he just,
Got into it.
yeah,
Yeah.
Worked hard.
right, worked hard. Just put his heart and soul into it. Brother number 2 looked at the task, sat back and thought, okay, so how can I make this work? He built a contraption where it would take the water, pump it up, and then flow down to the other village. Now, meanwhile, brother number 1 had transported all this water. Right? He's getting closer and closer to the goal. Brother number 2 hadn't done anything. There was no water to the other side yet. 0.
Mhm.
But then, by the time the task was complete and he got everything set up, all of a sudden his system started pouring water to
Directly.
the village.
Yeah.
And he overtook his brother and he ended up winning the little competition, right? They both go to their father, and the one said, I worked really hard and I achieved the goal. They both achieved the goal, and I worked really hard and I achieved the goal. I think I should run the company. And the father looked at both of them and gave it to brother number 2. He says, yes, you both did it. You both achieved it. But brother number 2 has set up something
Mhm.
that will keep giving water
Yeah.
to the village forever. With a little maintenance, he will keep doing the same task.
Yeah.
Whereas you stopped working, the water stopped flowing.
So this is a case of work
Smart, not
smart,
hard.
not
Smart.
hard, not hard.
Not hard.
Not hard.
And also, it was something I read or saw something recently online about people who, chase the money. Instead of chasing the money, do what you like, enjoy what you like, and try to make a difference and solve a problem in the world, and that money will follow you.
The people who I would say solving problems, right?
Yeah.
Enjoy solving problems. Not just your own, other people's,
Yeah.
right?
If you get
The
if you
people-
get the joy from solving,
Yeah.
like Arthur will tell you, it's not about the money that we get for a deal. He gets super satisfaction from making a really difficult deal work, whether it be logistically difficult or that they had some nuances that we hadn't come across before that were challenging. That is what brings Arthur satisfaction in real estate.
Yeah, that tends to be what makes.
I mean,
me
the money
happy.
helps. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie.
But
That
it's a bigger
absolutely.
accomplishment
Yeah,
to
making
navigate
something
the-
work. Yeah,
Which is why and if you're the person that's chasing that dollar amount, I've always got to have the biggest check. I'm only going to do this if you give me this. You're not going to find satisfaction because
It's a short-term gain.
it is.
Short-term gain.
You're going to burn out.
Yes.
You're going to burn out.
Then you'll take shortcuts
Yes.
just to go chase that money.
Mhm.
Do it because you enjoy it. Enjoy what you do. Do it because you enjoy it.
Sales isn't made for everybody.
No.
Yeah.
It really isn't.
Customer service isn't made for it.
No.
So it's
Just
goes
like-
hand-
Pardon?
Yes. Very true.
What did you say?
Customer
customer service isn't made for everyone.
I have
you know?
a personal experience worth sharing, probably in our next episode.
Okay.
Save
But
that story.
I worked in customer service
Uh-oh.
for a year for Enterprise Rent a Car.
Ooh.
So I was cleaning cars, I was washing cars,
Oh.
and I was selling those cars.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So, yeah,
Oh,
that-
yeah, we're going to talk about
Oh,
customer
Taste
definitely.
of
service.
customer service was,
Good.
It's super. It's
know?
a super, and that's what we are in. We're in the sales business. We're in the customer service
yeah.
business.
Good
So,
stuff.
and anyone
Good
who
stuff.
says,
We
it's
are.
different.
At the end of the day, we're helping sell a home, sell a business, or commercial property in our case, right?
Ultimately, it's all about the client.
But it is. We have
It has to be about
clients on both sides.
Yep.
So there's a lot of customer service involved, and it is sometimes very stressful.
It is. A lot of people don't realize how a deal can be made or broken by the realtors.
Yeah.
Not even by the other two sides.
It becomes a personal
Literally.
thing. It
Yeah.
By the
becomes,
realtors.
they see it as an ego thing.
Exactly. You got to leave that at the door when
Yeah.
you're a realtor.
Rather than Andrew shared with me a text the other morning from an agent who was trying to make an offer on one of his listings, and the agent was beyond obnoxious.
But he'd done thousands of deals.
But he'd done thousands of deals, you know, per his even, and he was just very big-headed, very egotistical. He was trying to boss, you know, and bully his way into getting to do something pretty much illegal. And we were like, yeah, no, that's not how we roll.
That's not how it works.
You know,
we don't do
we're
that.
not doing that.
Not taking
And
shortcuts.
so
No.
he acted like a little spoilt child in his response. You know, I was like, well, we know at least, and it was laughable. It was like, yeah, I'm sure you're really, yeah.
But we shared it with our client, of course.
Yeah.
You know,
Say, hey,
like,
look at what.
this is what this person's asking for. This is what they want, and this is not right. We're not allowed to do this.
And they're like, yeah, no, the Joker,
Not
you know.
happening.
But yeah, there's a whole other episode.
Stay tuned for episode 2.
Whole other episode.
So I hope you guys liked watching us. This was the first episode by the MPR Group, and I'm Haya, and I'm housing Houston.
Yay.
Mm.
Cheers. Cheers on to the next
Take
one.
care.